Yeah, look, I think it's certainly a catch-up story there. I mean, we've seen it underperform, gold over recent times, and I suspect that will switch. And we have found in the past that in a general sort of downtrend sort of market, and that's where we're expecting to see gold sort of weaken over the course of the year as we see tighter monetary policy. But in those cases, we do tend to find that silver outperforms the gold price as well. So that's certainly the main part of the story. But there's certainly an industrial component there, and we do have as you said, a broadly positive sort of macro backdrop. I mean, even though we do see global growth easing back from the levels we saw this year, it is still above trend, and so I think that will tend to benefit some of those industrial uses as the metal gets slightly cheaper.
Okay, and so what's your target for silver next year?
So we've got it down sort of current levels about 10% from current levels. So that's a decent fall, but as I said, on a relative basis within the precious metals sector, we'll expect to see it to perform relatively well.
Right. We had data out from China today, which was rather interesting. Producer prices in China month on month were flat. There was absolutely no growth there. Prices have been rising month on month for the better part of this year. And Sam and I were discussing about the reasons that could be contributing to such a trend and whether it's a trend in the making. You look at coal futures in China, and they have pretty much crashed because of government regulation and of course, controls imposed by the authorities. What does the story look like? Because if that's the case going forward, then obviously it would essentially mean that we've seen the worst as far as producer price inflation is concerned in the region.
Look, I think if you take a step back and look at the broader sort of energy complex, it's still a pretty tight market, and as we see, the energy transition accelerate in a sense, the decarbonisation, the electrification of a lot of sectors. I think the pressures on the power sector and the fuels that produce that electricity are only going to get greater. Now, certainly within China, we've seen obviously talk about a band or a set price for longer term contracts in that market really weigh on sentiment, and clearly the ability of authorities to boost output by easing some restrictions on the sector as well this year has certainly helped that, but it's certainly not out of the woods yet. And I think there's still a lot of issues in front of it in 2022, which could keep prices for not just coal but the broader sort of energy complex relatively high. So yes, we've seen a big fall away now, but the market's still going to go through bouts of tightness in 2022. So I would expect to see prices rebound at some point.